Hello student. Now I am going to explain you about power sharing. This is the first chapter of our book Political Science. Now we have already learned the ethnic composition of Belgium and Sri Lanka. Once again I am repeating the ethnic composition of Belgium is that the Dutch community comprises 59% of its total population, whereas the French community comprising 40% and the German community 1%. Similarly, in Sri Lanka, there is Sinhala and Tamils. Sinhala comprises 74% of its total population, whereas Tamil comprises 18% of its total population. And these 18% Tamils were also divided into two subgroups, that is Sri Lankan Tamil and Indian Tamil. Sri Lankan Tamil consists 13%, whereas Indian Tamil consists 5%. And others are Christians and Muslims. See, we are going to compare here the power sharing arrangement in Sri Lanka and Belgium. In Sri Lanka, we see that power sharing arrangement we can say in one word majoritarianism, whereas in Belgium we see that power sharing is a accommodative or accommodation is given preference. See, the power sharing arrangement in Sri Lanka that only given to the major social group Sinhala majority. According to 1956 Act, the provision made which uh, comprises number one that there is official language only Sinhala. Sinhala was made only official language. Second, preferential policies only Sinhala community were given preference in university job, etc. And as far as state religion is concerned, the state religion of Sri Lanka is Buddhism. So we see that 1956 established here as a majoritarianism in Sri Lanka, where Belgium is also having a diverse population, and Belgium tried to accommodate its diversity with providing the equal arrangement of power sharing in its government. We see the arrangement of Belgium is that in a central government, both the Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal. Similarly, in the Brussels, we have also seen the number of French minister and Dutch minister is equal in the capital government. So we see that there is a mutual acceptance in terms of power sharing. How? With example, we can show that Dutch accepted equal representation in Belgian government. Similarly, French accepted equal representation in the capital government or Brussels government. There was also a provision made for the community government regarding the religion, culture, etc. For every community, their own government dealing with these kind of cultural, religious, linguistic problems. Now, we have seen here that majoritarianism measure established in 1956, whereas see no single community can be taken. So there is a accommodative B. See next, uh, see as a result of majoritarianism, there is a favoritism of Sinhala applicants, whereas here we see that everyone is given equal. Now we see that Belgium is also applying equal status of all its community. Similarly, it's following true federation that states are not subordinate to the central government. So this is a power sharing arrangement of Belgium and Sri Lanka. When we analyze the result, we see that due to the majoritarianism policy in Sri Lanka, there is a increased feeling of distrust among the Sri Lankan Tamil, which causes civil war. Whereas when we talk about the Belgium, the country respect the feeling of different accommodation and this region. As an example, we see that the Brussels is the headquarter of European Union. So we see that when the country uh, give a respect to power sharing and try to accommodate it all ethnic conflict, the country lead to peace and progress, prosperity, whereas the country who try to uh, give a preference to any ethnic group, we see that lead to the conflict, tension. So that is a summary of these power division. And finally, we got the conclusion that power sharing is necessary. Why power sharing is necessary? That we will see that two reasoning. But before that, I'll explain later. There are, when we talk about the word politics, we will see there are four different forms of power sharing arrangement. You can see here, number is power is shared among organs, that is a legislative, executive, judiciary, which is a horizontal distribution, and it reflects as far as India is concerned that the checks and balances. Each organ is taking to other and helping to work out well. Whereas we see that the second forms of power sharing is a level, that is a vertical forms of power sharing, and it is also referred as a federal forms of power sharing where the power is shared from top to bottom, that is the center, state and local. Another forms of power sharing arrangement we can see here right hand side, that is a community government, that in Belgium we have seen the good example of power sharing arrangement. Similarly, in India, we are also having a power sharing with the religious and linguistic group. Now, in a democracy, power is also shared with the political parties, pressure group, and movement. So these are the four different forms of power sharing we will see when there is a democracy uh, progress more or less. Now, why power sharing is desirable? For that, we have having a two different reasons. One is prudential, another is moral. The prudential reason based on prudence calculation that the country leads progress. Moral reason emphasize that power sharing is a very act, it is a valuable, it gives a morality that power should be shared to all. Now, prudential reason brings better outcome. It helps to reduce the possibility of conflict between social groups, whereas here we see that the people have a right to be consulted on how to be governed. People practice in a government. Now, there is a moral responsibility that here equality is given more emphasis, where when we talk about the prudential reason, that the calculation or the status is given more preference. When we talk about the prudential reason, example is that reservation, whereas we talk about the moral reasons, the example is right to vote, equal sharing in a government, legislative, executive, etc. So we understood that power sharing is a very spirit of democracy. Now, thank you all of you.